of the United States. While a federal criminal trial was still actively underway, Judge Emttt Ma formally transmitted impeachment evidence directly to the United States Congress. This extraordinary move occurred less than 24 hours after Donald Trump's entire legal team was forcibly removed from the courtroom by federal marshals. Court officials later confirmed that the referral explicitly cited impeachable conduct directly connected to the case currently before the court. As of tonight, Washington, D.C. is effectively locked down. National Guard units have been deployed across the city. Republican members of Congress are defecting in real time, and the sitting president of the United States is openly posting threats of civil war on social media platforms. This is the moment the country has arrived at. Yesterday, after Judge Ma expelled Trump's attorneys from the courtroom for committing perjury, after federal marshals physically escorted them out in full view of cameras, he did not simply proceed with the trial. Instead, he escalated the situation dramatically. He issued a formal judicial order, and the language contained within that order was explosive. Judge Ma wrote that obstruction of justice and perjury constitute impeachable high crimes and misdemeanors, and that congressional transmission was now complete. That phrase is critical. It means the judge formally assembled the evidence and transmitted it to the House of Representatives for impeachment proceedings. He did not send a summary. He did not send an opinion. He sent everything. The transmission included full courtroom transcripts documenting that Trump's lawyers lied 17 separate times under oath about emails they claimed did not exist. It included the $40 million Saudi payment email that directly proved those statements were false. It included body camera footage showing federal marshals escorting Trump's legal team out of the courtroom. And then came the most damaging material of all. The package included the Jack Smith recording in which Donald Trump is heard instructing associates to ignore court orders. It included the Letitia James recording in which Trump is heard threatening judges. Every piece of evidence was sealed, cataloged, and delivered directly to the House Judiciary Committee. This has never happened before. Not during Watergate, not during Nixon, not during Clinton. Never. Congress was already prepared. House Resolution 10353 had been sitting dormant since April 2025. That resolution contains 7 articles of impeachment: bribery related to amelments, violations, tyranny connected to military deployment plots, abuse of power, obstruction of justice, contempt of Congress, violation of the oath of office, and incitement. Until yesterday, the resolution had approximately 120 co-sponsors, mostly Democrats with a small number of Republicans. That was not enough to pass. Everything changed the moment Trump's lawyers were ejected from the courtroom. Everything changed the moment Judge Ma sent his referral. As of this morning, the resolution now has 220 co-sponsors, an outright majority of the House of Representatives, enough votes to impeach immediately. The names being added are stunning: Thomas Massie, Thom Tillis. Republicans who publicly defended Trump just last week have now flipped. Massie held a press conference this morning and stated plainly, "Resign or face removal. He is unfit to command." That is a Republican lawmaker saying that about a Republican president. Representatives Ro Khanna and Al Green have invoked the 72-hour rule, a procedural mechanism that forces a floor vote within 3 days. They filed the motion this morning. That means by January 11th at the latest, the House of Representatives will vote on whether to impeach Donald Trump. 3 days. That is all the time remaining. With 220 co-sponsors already on record, the math is unforgiving. Donald Trump will be impeached. The only remaining question is how many Republicans join Democrats on the final vote, and that number is increasing by the hour. Republicans who were waiting to see which way the political winds would blow are now abandoning ship. They have seen the recordings. They have read the transcripts. They have watched Trump's lawyers dragged out of court for perjury. They understand they cannot go on television and defend this anymore. Trump's response has unfolded exactly as anyone paying attention would expect. He has been posting continuously on Truth Social since the judicial referral landed. Endless all caps rants, accusations of hoaxes, personal attacks on Judge Ma, and claims of vast conspiracies. Then came the post that set off alarms across Washington, a direct threat of civil war if Congress removes him, a sitting president. Threatening civil war in response to Congress exercising its constitutional authority is not political rhetoric. It is incitement. And every post Trump makes becomes evidence. Every rant strengthens the case against him. He cannot stop himself. He is unraveling in real time. Washington is now locked down. National Guard units are deployed. Barricades are being erected. Protesters on both sides are gathering. Pro-Trump groups are shouting about stolen elections. Anti-Trump demonstrators are demanding immediate removal. Law enforcement is everywhere. This is day one. There are 3 days until the House vote. 3 days of instability. 3 days for additional evidence to surface. 3 days for more Republican defections. Everything that has been building for months, the recordings, the documents, the court rulings, the resignations, has converged into this single moment. Impeachment is coming. There is nothing Trump can do to stop it. The House vote will occur by January 11th, 3 days from now. The 72-hour rule has already been activated. That rule exists for moments precisely like this, when congressional leadership determines that delay itself poses a danger. With 220 co-sponsors already publicly committed, impeachment is no longer a matter of speculation. It is a certainty. The only unknown is the margin. Will the vote be razor thin, something like 218 to 217? Or will it turn into a decisive landslide if additional Republicans defect at the final moment? Either way, Donald Trump is on the verge of becoming the first president in American history to be impeached 3 times. This time, the charges are not symbolic. They are not procedural. They are substantive. Bribery, obstruction of justice, abuse of power, incitement. These are not disputes over policy preferences or executive authority. These are allegations that strike directly at the constitutional structure of the United States itself. That distinction is critical because it reshapes how the public and the Senate will interpret what follows. Once the House impeaches, the process moves automatically to the Senate. A trial becomes mandatory. The Chief Justice will preside. House impeachment managers will present Judge Ma's evidence in full, the transcripts, the recordings, the financial documentation, the body camera footage. Trump's legal team, whoever is willing to represent him after yesterday's courtroom humiliation, will attempt a defense. Then senators will vote. Conviction requires 67 votes. That means every Democrat plus 18 Republicans. On paper, that seems like an extremely high threshold. But look at what is already happening. Republicans who were firmly in Trump's camp are now defecting. Senators from swing states are watching the footage and imagining campaign attack ads. Party leadership is furious about the spectacle of Trump's lawyers being dragged out of court for perjury. No one wants to be on record defending obstruction, perjury, or threats against judges. Even if Trump survives the Senate numerically, politically, he will be crippled. A president who has been impeached while facing overwhelming evidence is a president without leverage. Authority once shattered does not reassemble. Trump himself remains the most volatile variable in this situation. His reaction so far has been erratic, aggressive, and deeply dangerous. Threats of civil war are not offhand remarks. They are warning signs. Law enforcement agencies are treating them with utmost seriousness. That is why the National Guard has been mobilized. That is why intelligence agencies are monitoring extremist communications. Authorities are preparing for the possibility of violence. History has taught them not to dismiss Trump's rhetoric as empty. The next 72 hours represent the most dangerous window. Trump understands that impeachment is unavoidable. He knows control is slipping away. And when Trump feels cornered, he escalates. He lashes out. He burns bridges. He invites chaos. That behavioral pattern is well documented. Officials across Washington are not sleeping tonight. Judge Ma's referral does not end with Congress. Evidence of perjury, obstruction, and witness intimidation has also been transmitted to prosecutors. If investigators can establish that Trump directed his attorneys to lie under oath, that constitutes suborning perjury, a serious federal offense. Obstruction of justice carries potential prison sentences. Witness intimidation does as well. Multiple grand juries are already active in Washington, New York, and Georgia. Criminal indictments could arrive while impeachment proceedings are still unfolding. This is territory the Constitution anticipated, but hoped would never be required. Multiple accountability mechanisms operating simultaneously. Congressional impeachment, criminal prosecution, judicial intervention, and hovering over all of it is a discussion no one wanted to have, but now cannot avoid. The 25th Amendment. Reports indicate quiet conversations are taking place between the vice president and cabinet members regarding capacity and stability. The 25th Amendment allows for removal without a House vote or Senate trial. If a president is deemed unable to discharge the duties of office, it can occur rapidly overnight. Trump could challenge it. Congress would ultimately decide. With impeachment already advancing, the outcome would not be uncertain. The fact that this option is even being discussed reveals the severity of the moment. The Republican Party is fracturing in real time. Loyalists are doubling down. Pragmatists are fleeing. Internal threats are circulating. Lawmakers who defected are receiving harassment. The party is collapsing under the weight of Trump's implosion. With midterm elections approaching, many Republicans see electoral catastrophe ahead if they remain tied to this level of instability. Internationally, allies are alarmed. A U.S. president threatening civil war while facing impeachment and criminal exposure is not a normal headline. Adversaries are watching closely, assessing risk, probing weakness. Domestic instability always carries global consequences. Right now, America appears unstable. 3 days before a House impeachment vote, a federal judge has formally declared impeachable offenses. A majority of the House has already signed on. The National Guard is deployed. Criminal investigations are accelerating. The 25th Amendment is under discussion. The Republican Party is splintering. And the president is escalating rhetoric that only worsens his legal exposure. This is not noise. This is not hype. This is convergence. Everything that has been building for months is collapsing into a single narrow window of time. What unfolds over the next 72 hours will shape the future of the presidency, the rule of law, and American democracy itself. Beyond the immediate mechanics of impeachment and indictment, a deeper reckoning is forming, one that cannot be postponed or ignored once this process begins. What Judge Ma did shattered a long-standing assumption in American politics that courts stay in their lane while Congress handles political accountability. That barrier is gone. The judiciary has stepped directly into the constitutional machinery and declared that this conduct is so severe that the legislative branch must act immediately. That alters the balance of power in a way never seen before. For decades, presidents relied on delay as a survival strategy. Drag proceedings out, litigate endlessly, let public attention fade, let elections intervene. Delay is no longer available to Trump. The referral collapsed timelines. It forced Congress to operate on a judicial clock, not a political one. Once that clock begins, it does not stop for rallies, polling shifts, or threats. This is why Trump's allies are panicking behind the scenes. Even as they shout publicly, they understand impeachment is no longer the endgame. It is the beginning of exposure. Senate trials bring witnesses, subpoenas, sworn testimony, cross-examination, evidence that has not yet surfaced publicly. Every layer peeled back increases legal risk, not just for Trump, but for everyone who enabled him. That is where the real fear spreads. Staffers, donors, Political operatives, lawyers, advisors, people who believed loyalty would shield them are now realizing loyalty only draws them closer to the blast radius. Cooperation becomes rational. Silence becomes dangerous. Once that shift begins, it accelerates. Trump senses this. That is why his rhetoric has turned openly apocalyptic. He is no longer trying to persuade undecided lawmakers. He is attempting to intimidate institutions. Civil war language is not messaging. It is a threat designed to make Congress hesitate. Judges second guess and officials fear consequences for doing their jobs. That tactic has failed. Threats lose power when they are documented. They do not freeze institutions, they harden them. Every post is archived, time-stamped, and potentially admissible. Every escalation strengthens the argument that Trump is not merely unfit, but dangerous. This explains the current security posture in Washington. Officials are preparing not just for protests, but for the possibility that rhetoric becomes action. January 6th is not a theoretical memory. It is operational knowledge. Agencies know exactly what happens when incitement is ignored. They are determined not to repeat that mistake. The political narrative around Trump is collapsing. He can no longer credibly claim persecution when a federal judge bound by evidence and procedure initiates impeachment referral. This was not cable news, not a press release, not an opposition talking point. This was a courtroom under oath with records. That distinction matters profoundly. Here is the quiet truth many in Washington are not yet saying publicly. Even if Trump survives the Senate trial, his presidency does not recover from this. Authority once broken does not return. Every executive action would be challenged, every order questioned, every decision viewed through the lens of instability. Governance becomes nearly impossible. That is why contingency planning is happening everywhere in Congress, in federal agencies, among allies overseas. Scenarios range from resignation to removal to incapacitation. This is what constitutional crisis management looks like when guardrails are under extreme stress. When people ask whether this is truly the answer is precise. It is the end of the illusion of untouchability, the illusion that power overrides law, the illusion that consequences can always be outrun. What remains now is process. Cold, methodical, relentless process. The one force Trump has never been able to dominate. The countdown is real. The record is locked. The next move belongs not to Trump, but to the Constitution. What happens in the next 72 hours will not only determine Trump's fate, it will determine whether constitutional authority still carries gravity in the United States. Once impeachment shifts from theory to action, everything changes. The stakes harden, the language sharpens, consequences become unavoidable. By the time the House gavels in for the impeachment vote, ambiguity will be gone. Members will not be voting on personality, loyalty, or politics. They will be voting on a documented record assembled by a federal judge, reinforced by sworn testimony, recordings, and physical evidence that strips away every familiar defense. No plausible deniability, no claims of context. The paper trail is complete. That is why Congress feels less like debate right now and more like preparation. Offices are coordinating security. Leadership is mapping multiple outcomes. Legal counsel is on standby. Everyone understands this is not an ordinary vote. It is a constitutional rupture point. Trump understands this as well, even if he cannot acknowledge it. His behavior reflects a man who knows time is no longer on his side. That is why grievance has turned into threat. That is why persuasion has given way to intimidation. He is betting fear will slow the process. That chaos will force hesitation. That disorder will buy time. But fear fails when it becomes evidence. Every message Trump posts is not a defense. It is an exhibit. The conversation surrounding the 25th Amendment has not faded. It exists as a pressure release mechanism for moments exactly like this. Its presence alone signals how seriously officials are taking Trump's conduct. The criminal process continues regardless of congressional action. Courts do not pause for politics. Prosecutors do not stop reviewing evidence because a president is angry. Impeachment accelerates criminal exposure by pulling evidence into the open under oath. That convergence is what makes this moment both dangerous and decisive. Trump is not confronting a single threat. He is facing multiple forces advancing simultaneously: congressional removal, criminal indictment, political abandonment, institutional isolation. None of them require his consent. The Republican Party knows it. The fractures forming now are permanent. Once defections begin, they do not reverse. Every silence grows louder. Every refusal to defend speaks volumes. That is why the next 3 days will feel relentless. More evidence, more statements, more resignations, more pressure, more panic from a president who has never faced a system that will not bend. Trump built his identity on the belief that rules are optional and consequences avoidable. What is happening now is the collapse of that belief, not rhetorically, but procedurally. When the House finally votes, it will not feel dramatic. It will feel inevitable, like the final step in a sequence already decided by evidence, process, and time. The question is no longer whether impeachment happens.